So, as you are reviewing chapter one, and we're really in chapter one, part one, you want to make sure you are reading the information on barriers of communication. So, just like the email lecture, when it comes to effective and ineffective messaging, all of that is part of barriers of communication. Okay. So when you have a barrier there, that means the message is not reaching the audience like you want it to. Therefore, the message is ineffective. Okay. And sometimes in barriers, it's not always about the content. You have barriers when it comes to physical messaging and, visual interpersonal communication skills, which actually include, how you communicate with people on a daily basis, making eye contact, shaking hands. Of course, right now, shaking hands might be out the, out the deal, given that we're in a pandemic. Not being too close to someone, not being too distant. So that's interpersonal communication. We have cultural when it comes to, let's say, hair, or when it comes to style of dress. When it comes to, tattoos in the workplace, that could be a barrier as well for some people. Nails, there are so many barriers, and barriers are distractions where even though the message may be good in itself, it may sound good, there are some things that people just can't get past because of these distractions. So this is going to be extremely important as you move forward in this lesson, towards the end of the lesson, but also within everyday life. And if you were to reflect and think about your communication and your encounters with other people, I'm quite sure we all have stories to tell. I was somewhere recently, and the response from the young lady was like, "That's not what I asked you. Is what I told her." And it just set up this this emotional response in me. And of course, over the years, I've tamed my responses, specifically when it comes to in-person encounters. Because we're also about self preservation, and you never know how someone else is going to respond. Okay. But in the age of technology and online communication, you have to think about tone. You don't want to put things in all caps. That's almost like you're hollering at someone. Of course, it depends on the industry, right? So even though all caps and bold and red fonts may be something that another industry may not utilize. In teaching, of course, we have to, because we use those for emphasis a lot of times. Italics, those kind of things. But as you are going through this chapter and this lesson on barriers of communication, I'm going to walk you through quickly, just the process, how the communication process works. Okay. So the sender, the person who, of course, is going to send the message, they come up with this idea. Okay. It could be a great idea, or it could be an idea where you want to address some concerns in the workplace. And again, it doesn't have to be always formal. It could be more practical outside of, class. Let's say you're going through it with your significant other, right? And you want to relay a message to them, so as you're thinking about this communication process, you can also apply it outside of class. All right, so the sender has a message. The sender produces the message in a transmittable medium. Again, a medium is the way in which you want to relay your message. Okay, and the book states, with the appropriate message to express an idea, the sender now needs a communication medium. The message has to pretty much align with the medium. Some things you can send in a text message. Some things are better off in email. Some things, or some messaging is better off with a phone call. True story, yesterday, I had to respond to a student. No one here had him before. The student did not do well on an assignment. And my messaging was there. I told the student why. I gave the student an opportunity to resubmit. In so many words, the student plagiarized. There were no in-text citations. But I used that as a teachable moment, and I contacted the student via email. Um, I never contact a student for a phone call when it comes to that, because I want to, you know, just I don't want it to appear to be abrupt, or I'm just going to immediately call the student because of this issue. It depends on the issue. However, the email I got back from the student, the first one, Ms. Parker, I can't locate why I received a 0. Well, apparently they were able to, so they emailed me again. Now, this is before I was able to get to the first email. I'm going through grade every day. I am responding to different emails every day, so I have to prioritize. Okay. But I did, put this one a bit high on the list. I was able to get to this email, rather quickly. And the response from the student is what prompted me to call the student. Okay. It wasn't just the tone. Tone I can deal with. The student was mad. Okay. You can be mad. You'll be all right. But it was the fact that the student didn't understand the issue. Okay. I can get past your mood. I can get past your attitude. I need to make sure that you know what it means to plagiarize. Even though I have all the messaging in the world in the course room, I need to make sure. So I did the phone call, and we figured it out. I was able to, the student was able to come to an understanding of plagiarism, but we were also able to come to an understanding about, just a level of respect. Sometimes I do have to address students personally. Okay. Most times it would be via email, and to be quite honest with you, I just did not feel like typing the message again, because for me, if the student didn't understand the first time, then now I have to use a different medium. Okay. So as you are going through your own careers, again, use the level of discernment. That's really important, because you do want to make sure the person, when I hang up that phone, okay, I want to make sure that student understands what it means to plagiarize. Okay. All right. So that's why medium is so important as well. So the sender transmits the message through a channel. The audience receives the message. Okay. Now, the audience can receive the message all they want to, right? But when we see number 6 here, when they decode that message, when they break it down, we want them to understand it. Okay. That's where barriers come into place. Okay. Or into play. Decoding a message, a person probably can't do so because there are so many distractions. Okay. Again, maybe it's the tone, like the student yesterday, but it wasn't just the tone. Again, it was also the fact that the student didn't get what I was trying to relate to them. It's also it could be a cultural reference. It could be, whatever the case is, it's going to be how the audience decode, same thing. What it means essentially is that the receiver of the message, the audience, is processing it. Okay. If they process it the way you want them to, you have done your job. And don't be discouraged if you have not, because sometimes it's not always you. Again, in my situation, it wasn't me. I gave the student examples. I went over plagiarism again, what it was in my message before I sent it. But zeros always get students' attention. I've learned that over the years. I can email all I want to, but when they go in that grade book and they see a 0, yeah, that's going to grab their attention. The audience provides feedback. Okay. So again, in my situation, the feedback the student provided to me was not the feedback I wanted. Okay. And I've done this countless of times when it comes to plagiarism. Most times the audience gets it. Most times, the student gets it. All right. So this is going to be important for your barriers of communication assignment, because as you're looking to see the type of scenario or the type of, example, you want you're matching it correctly. All right. So be sure to review the various environments lesson as well here, or the reading. Some answers are more obvious than others, of course, for the assignment, but I also want you to think. Okay. I'm not going to give everything away. So I want you to think. There are some things I gave away in my verbal lecture here, but just think about it before you respond to it. Okay. So my advice is to take your time with this assignment, and to make sure you are looking at the example, and looking at the type of barrier. I had to go outside the box just a bit. this particular book, unlike a book I used to teach out years ago, did a better job, I would say, when it came to the type of situations. Um, and the wording has changed just a bit too, you know. So that's another reason why I choose to go ahead and provide verbal lectures for students. All right, so I think it's a fairly easy assignment. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.